All right, here's something I'm in the process of doing coating on my wheels, so make sure to go check out that video. But if you're more into garages than you are detailing, this is something that I'm excited to test out. I'm trying not to get too, you know, when I tend to find solutions, I tend to assume it's going to be perfect. And this time I'm going to attempt to just be subjective. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, I'm not going to get all bent out of shape. But these are LED 6,000 Kelvin tubes. So these are a direct replacement. So these are double-ended instead of single-ended. So they're powered from the left and right side. So you don't need to do any modification to your fixture. And so these will go right into our traditional T8 fixture. So these are T8 sized, and they're, again, they're ballast compatible, so they don't require anything specific. And the company, their marketing is on point too. So I'm hoping that this is a viable solution for us, since my beloved Verilux bulbs no longer exist. They stopped making them. So the packaging's good. So there are a couple of different options from Hyperikon and most LED tube solutions. Now, every one that I found, they're always 5,000 Kelvin. You know, they're not 6,000 or 6,500. The Verilux bulbs that are in here are 6,500. Yeah, ma'am, come here. What is that? Come show everybody your shirt. Come here. I like this shirt. Look at Katie Bell. Say hi to everybody. We match. What are you doing? You playing with Shopkins? You want to go back and play? You're just showing me? Ugh. Anyway, I'm excited to see what these are like. So we have a couple of options. Again, you can buy single-ended or double-ended. I forget the exact, but I think a single-ended tube, you need to modify your ballast, or you need to modify how they're connected. These double-ended should be a direct retrofit. These are extremely light. They're plastic. And then these are frosted. And so in here are, I don't know how many, but roughly probably over 100 little square LEDs. And so if you don't buy the frosted version, you're going to see the little squares. You'll see little directions, especially if you're paint correcting and stuff like that. And so my thought is that frosted will be the way to go. So I bought 24 of these to test out. It's because I never seem to do anything the intelligent way, which is to try one or two. Now, these end up being about 15 bucks a piece. But our Verilux bulbs were 12, so it's all relative. But these should last, 45,000 hours, or longer. So these should last 20 years in your garage. And then these bulbs are, what is the efficiency or the effectiveness? They're 18 watt. And so these are 18 watt bulbs instead of 32 watt. So they're going to be 50% more efficient. And then, again, I think that this color temp, 6,000 Kelvin, I think it's going to be the perfect color temp. 6,500 is pretty blue, takes some getting used to. 5,000 to me isn't my preferred color temp. When people were bringing up some points, Jason Rose from Rupes made a post on Facebook. Hey, don't touch the camera. Made a post on Facebook asking about lighting, and a couple of guys made some comments about how, depending on the color of the car, on how, what color temp works best. So, again, that makes sense. But, I'm not going to be switching out bulbs on my roof. And so really that would only be helpful. It would only be helpful to make changes if you're talking about a fixture, you know, like a light that you would, you could swap out that you were moving around, a movable light. So let me get a ladder and we're going to swap out some of these bulbs up in the garage here. So I just wanted to let these cool off a little bit, but I went into the house, grabbed some lunch. I was thinking about this. I mean, some of these bulbs in here are my original bulbs from my previous house, these Verilux bulbs, and I've never had one of these fail. So, man, it's a kind of a shame that they no longer exist, but I'm really interested to see, one, for me in filming, do these flicker, because a lot of LEDs will flicker on camera, and then two, how do they look? In fact, in here, I hope they actually put out a little less light because I have a little bit too much light in here. I'm probably at 120 foot candles of output. So let's just put 4 bulbs in this one fixture and we'll take a look at how it looks. And then we'll swap out this entire fixture and then compare this fixture to the next fixture. These fixtures in here are from a company called AEI, which, if you've watched my construction of this building, they were like $220 a piece, and they're not any different than any other crap that you get at Home Depot. They certainly look attractive. The Hyperikon, their branding is on point. All right, let's test it. So I think you guys can see this. First thing I notice, so again, these are high bay fixtures used in a low bay environment, right? And so there's no reflection from my fixture. So in this room, I think that's going to be good because it's just a little bit too harsh in here for me. So this will dial it back, but I'm not noticing any flickering on the camera, so that's good. So let's try and let's bring and it's not super noticeable, the difference between 6,000 Kelvin and 6,500. So 6,000 on the right, 6,500 on the left. So not a huge difference there. Anyway, let's turn this off before it starts getting hot. Let's replace the whole fixture then. See how it does. So let's let that cool off while I unbox some more bulbs. So I think that we'll see how the dispersion of light is, because I never even thought of that. That again, these tubes aren't 360 degrees of light output. They're only going to output light directly downward at a 140 degree angle, whereas our Verilux bulbs, our traditional bulbs, are going to put light out all the way around. But it's funny, this says that these are the same as a 48 watt fluorescent, but these clearly aren't as bright as the 32 watt Verilux fluorescents next to them. And so you see what I'm saying here, this backing part is your heat sink. That's where the LEDs are mounted to, and then the light is dispersed at a 140 degree pattern out. Whereas our regular bulb, so your regular bulb is going to be putting light out at all angles. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think what it will do for us, depending on what shadowing and all that looks like, I think it might be helpful for us in that in a garage, one of the problems is there really aren't any quality and multiple bulb low bay fixtures, fixtures that don't have the reflectors inside of them, that are designed for low bay application. So this might just take the edge off. We'll see. I mean, worst case scenario, cost me a couple $100 to figure it out. The other nice thing is shipping these is a lot easier than shipping a fluorescent because they're not as fragile because they're plastic instead of glass. Because these are less bright or not as focused, or I guess I should say they're more focused, it may require us to have more fixtures, which then kind of offsets some of the energy efficiency of it. I also wonder if we're getting a lot of our color temp just simply from having a tinted, frosted lens or diffused lens around it. I should have done this at night. What I may do, I may for this video just replace half the fixtures or half the bulbs and then come back and do some more testing tonight when the sun goes down. See, this has always been one of the advantages of the Verilux bulbs. They don't have a harshness to them. So like me just looking at it, when I just look at the light, now how often are you gonna stare at the light? But the Verilux bulbs I can look at and they just don't have, they don't have a harsh brightness to them. Or these LEDs, I don't know, I think they seem pretty good too. They seem pretty darn good. Let's do another fixture. So to me, lighting has always been one of those things that, you can have all the specs dialed in, but I always have to just put it in the ceiling and see what it looks like. And so lighting for me from the very beginning has always been a lot of testing, a lot of trial and error. And I'm all for packaging and how a product's built. But big ass lights just don't do it for me. They're literally 2.5 times the cost. And the quality is so. And then they're only at 5,000 Kelvin, so count me out. So and I haven't bought these yet, but the fixtures from the company called Prime Lights, which I talked about in the video when I talked about the Chatham Garage lighting. Those bulbs or those fixtures look promising, but they only do 5,000 Kelvin LED tubes. So what may be the solution is that we do Prime Light fixtures and Hyperikon bulbs. And so let's think about that. So if these end up being, let's just say they're $15 a bulb. If you did 4 bulb fixtures, so you're at $60. And so you're still going to be at $120 a fixture, so with the bulbs, which isn't too bad. So let's at least do this one side, then I can kind of see about living with one side of the room versus the other. See if I detect any difference. If I don't detect a whole heck of a lot of difference, I'll replace them all. All right, so I'm going to swap out all this other fixture. We'll come back and look at it in a minute. Well, so far as I can tell, they look pretty darn, it's pretty much a non-event, in comparison to my Verilux. We'll have to look at it at night to see if we can notice any kind of shadowing differences, on camera and in person. That 500-degree temperature is pretty much undetectable. And the other good news is for camera, for shooting video, let's see there's no difference in, there's no flickering from what I can tell. Here's something that seems pretty nice about these is that you probably can't see on camera, but the LED tubes do have hot spots inside of them. I'm sorry, the fluorescent tubes will have hot spots, where it's a little brighter and a little darker, where the LEDs have great uniformity. Man, I think these are a viable solution. I'll come back to you tonight, and we'll do a little bit more testing. I've been out here all day living with them. They are a little brighter than the Verilux. The Verilux are still a little bit smoother. But it's almost negligible. Now the 6000 is a little bit bluer, and you probably can't see it on camera. Just a tiny bit bluer than the 6500 Kelvin that we get from the fluorescent. But you know, you were using, you know, roughly half, if not, you know, a third of the amount of output or power of the fluorescent, and we're getting just as much light, if not more. So these are a viable solution. I'll continue to test them. So I'll continue to test these lights, and we'll see how they do. But in general, even, you know, they are great. They are just as bright, if not brighter, if that's what you're looking for. So shoot, I might even want to do the slightly lower output. These are the 18 watt. I think they have a 12 watt as well, a 9 and a 12 watt. So it's something to consider. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll keep you updated. Because what happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.